Welcome back to the MC stage here live in Liverpool at MCM Comic Con. Hope you're having a great day. We are now joined by John, and he is going to tell us all about the world of steampunk. So welcome. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm great. Yeah, really enjoying MCM. It's buzzing, isn't it?
It is. It's a fantastic crowd here in Liverpool, especially for the first one. And you've done lots of cons. So how's it been in terms of the steampunk world? Have you seen lots of people?
Unlike other MCMs, we've got a fewer steampunks here, but that's made it even better for us because everybody's been coming over to our exhibition, which is over by the dome there, and they're just bouncing in excitement, like, wow, this is cool. So yeah, we're having a great day.
And I mean, certainly for someone like me, it's new to hear the phrase steampunk, to try and understand what the genre means. And it's certainly not a well-defined definition. So can you explain to the viewers here and at home, if they don't know, what is steampunk?
We say that if you ask two steampunks for a definition, you'll get five. It's impossible because you can't get it wrong. But it's basically, imagine H.G. Wells and Jules Verne with their time machine and Nautilus traveling under the sea are still around, and it's on into the future and into an imaginative world. So it's as if we take the past, the best bits of the past, and mix it with science fiction, shake it up and come up with something that's radical and modern. And
to my understanding, what you're looking at is things that are really powered by steam or could be powered by steam.
We do, but we also cheat. We don't mind talking about airships being lifted by ether and stuff like that. A lot of us do know our science, but sometimes you've got to use the imagination as science, haven't you?
And talk about the punk part of it and what that means.
Well, obviously I'm old, and I remember punk originally in the 70s. And what punk stood for then was about being no top-down structure. It wasn't about people telling you what to do. It was about you did it all for yourselves and within the punk community, but particularly do it yourself, improvise, make things for yourself. And that's why I think it resonates with cosplay, because cosplay's got this huge tradition of you make your own costumes. In steampunk, we make our own gear, like this.
And I mean, so basically you're talking about promoting creativity and promoting individuality through fashion, through other parts of the genre, through creating engines, games, and all sorts of things, really.
Yeah, we call it the democratization of creativity. This is, okay, we've hijacked Star Wars, we've taken Star Wars, and that's because one of the TKs, the guys who dress up in the Star Wars armor, said, you can't make Star Wars steampunk. We're anarchists, we're punks, we can. So this is our take on Princess Leia, but you can take any idea, mess around with it, give it an old style edge and come up with something which is actually very contemporary. Lady Elsie, my wife, she was walking through Westfield Centre in London dressed in one of these outfits, and we got jumped on by a crew. They thought she was wearing Vivienne Westwood's latest designs.
But that is interesting because Prada, Dolce & Gabbana, Versace have taken steampunk design and put it on the catwalk.
They have. We've actually done 7 spreads in Italian Vogue over the last 3 years.
Wow.
So.
And is there certain parts or certain elements of the fashion that you tend to see as more mainstream?
It's been quite obvious over the last 2 or 3 years with things like waistcoats. You go into any men's shop now, you can find waistcoats. You know, Topshop are doing tweed for men and tweed skinny trousers and jackets. I've got a really cool frock coat that I wear from Primark, you know? And then in ladies' fashions, All Saints, some of their bustled gowns and stuff like that, it's straight out of steampunk.
And do you have people, I mean, like you're talking about people that are designing their own clothes, but you do have sort of fashion lines that are steampunk, I think like steampunk couture and things like that.
You've got steampunk couture, which is Cato's line over in the States. There's a big crossover with goth and the other sub-community stuff, so Blue Banana often have things and that sort of setup. But a lot of it is about improvised couture. So you take a charity shop skirt, stitch some tapes inside it, and use that to hitch the skirt up, make it asymmetric, different lines, things like that. Because you can't get it wrong, and because it is about doing it yourself, it makes it, there's an edginess as well as a fashion, you know?
But it I mean, certainly for the fashion, it seems to all sort of revolve around Victorian era or the American Wild West era, that kind of time. Is that right?
To the outsider, you tend to see red coats and pith helmets and things like that and think it's all imperial or Wild Wild West. But it's massive around the world. The Japanese are heavily into steampunk. There's a big steampunk scene in Japan. And so we're seeing steampunk geisha and samurai and that side of things, as well as doing this sort of thing, which is Star Wars, but with different anime characters.
Right.
You look at Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
You can make it so easily steampunk.
Yeah.
So you've got that going on. But Central and South America, I'm lucky I speak Spanish. You go on the Spanish forums, it's huge in Brazil, Argentina, that sort of thing.
Why do you think it's spread all over the world and it's sort of branched off into lots of different areas of sort of culture and community?
It's obvious, really. We're surrounded by it. We're here in Liverpool, and you go out of this building, which is modern, and you've got Victorian buildings around you. I was in Mexico City, staying in a hotel with this huge cast iron atrium and glass. Most countries are surrounded by Victoriana, and because of that, we've got almost a literacy with it. We understand it and we can use it.
And I think also you're mixing sort of that sort of older world with the modern day. So we're seeing, I think recently, I think David Guetta had sort of steampunk elements to a video. And, there are films, not just Star Wars, but other like variations of films and TV. We were talking about Murdoch Mysteries earlier. Those are popular culture, popular sort of shows and sort of pop culture mixing with the older eras, I guess.
And also, I work in media, I work in TV, but it's the other media forms, the newer forms, where it's really coming to the fore. Yeah. Whether you're looking back to BioShock or Assassin's Creed Syndicate, you can't get any more steampunk than that, really.
And certainly, in terms of steampunk, the video games, there are things like Assassin's Creed, but you also have your own games that you play, steampunk games.
We've got some crazy steampunk games, from volley boater that involves teams in a swimming pool throwing a boater hat and playing like a volleyball game, through parasol dueling, where you've got ladies. It's a bit like rock, scissors, paper, but it's to do with how the parasol is opened, to tea dueling. Now, tea dueling, imagine this.
This is what I want to know about.
Just here, we have 2 cups of tea.
Right.
We draw a weapon, which is a malted milk biscuit. Then we dunk on the command into our tea and lift. Steady hand and rock steady nerve. Because the last person to eat their biscuit is the winner. And of course it's soggy and it starts to quiver and it falls.
Oh.
But like real dueling, you can both lose because both of you can fail to eat. So tea dueling's taking the world by storm. We've just had the Australian Championships held. It's mega.
That's amazing. So the Australian Championships in steampunk games or just in tea dueling?
Just in tea dueling.
Wow.
And the winners get to come to the Asylum, which is our big festival in Lincoln, and we hold a world championship every year.
That's fantastic. The fact that you've got your own sort of steampunk conventions just shows how popular it is. And, for people, if they were going to go to a convention for the first time, what would you expect to see at those?
The first thing you're going to see is lots and lots of smiles. We talk about steampunkitis, which is where, a bit like conventionitis, you find your feet hurt, your cheeks hurt from grinning, and you find that every second sentence you start, next time I'm going to. And that happens here at MCM, doesn't it? But what you're going to see is thousands of people in amazing outfits, artisans selling handcrafted goods, tea parties, lots of gin. Strangely, we like gin. But then we have crafter stages with people teaching you how to make things. We have artists, games people. There's a big board game scene in steampunk. In fact, there's one company, they've just started producing well-known steampunks as gaming miniatures.
Wow.
So there's now a miniature of me. You can have a little miniature Major Tinker for your Warhammer game or whatever.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. And obviously then the gaming part of the world is mixing with sort of fashion parts and the items. And is that what we see? It's almost like I I think I've heard of it described as a super culture almost, because it's not just one part of culture, it's kind of encompassing many different parts.
Yeah, that's deliberate. We are self-aware about being as inclusive and welcoming as we can be. But the idea of mixed media, so you've got gaming, people sitting in fashions around a table gaming before they go off to a ball to dance to steampunk music. It's, yeah,
and
everything.
That's just a standard steampunk kind of day, really.
That's my normal Saturday, yeah.
And I mean, in terms of dancing and that part of it, is that also got its own sort of dances, steampunk styles?
There are. There's one of the bands, Ghostfire, they created what was called the last steampunk waltz. Then you've got a lot of Cossack-style dancing with a song Drinkski. There are lots of different, you know, it can be a bit cheesy at times. So, but we've got our own culture, our own dance. Karen, Lady Elsie, teaches hysterical dancing. So they're real historical dancers that you might see, say, in a Jane Austen movie, but then set to modern music. And that can be amazing. If you think about the sort of dances where you've got lines of people moving at the same time, and then they're all in really fancy costumes, it looks like a human machine with all the cogs whirring together.
I see,
and
yeah.
so that's participative art, isn't it? We are one giant art piece with our own dancers in a community, usually in an amazing venue. It's weird but fun.
Yeah. I mean, lastly, it is such an amazing sort of thing to be part of, and I'm wondering, how did you get involved, first of all? How did you learn about steampunk and get involved with the community?
For me, it was one of those odd moments. My wife's a costume designer. I'm a production designer. We were sitting like this at home with our laptops researching a project. And I said, I found something new. And she said, I'm funny. I've just found something new. And we turned our screens around and we were both looking at steampunk.
Wow.
And this was back in 2007. We then discovered an online forum called Brass Goggles, which now is very quiet, and found out there were other people into it around the world, and it started to take off. We organised a couple of meets, much like you get meets at MCM, met up with other people, and now at the Asylum last year, we had 14,000 steampunks there on the Saturdays. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And you also have your own names, the steampunk names, is that right?
We tend to have crazy nicknames. Mine's Tinker. It's been Tinker forever. So if you see me on Scrap Heap Challenge, where I used to do bits, it used to have Tinker on my overalls. So that fits. It's a very steampunk name.
Yeah.
Some people have funky names and they call themselves Lord whatever. Other people, steampunk's the world where you can be who you want to be, not who you have to be.
Wow. And lastly, I have to ask, we're at Comic-Con, so if you could steampunk a comic book character for your own personal sort of favourite type style, who would you choose?
This is a bit top secret, but we have within Steampunk the League of Steampunk Superheroes.
Oh, okay.
They're a bunch of guys who've made costumes, guys and girls who've made costumes, and we get together and we parade in steampunk costumes. I'm in the middle of working on Ant-Man.
Wow.
I've made the helmet, I've made part of the suit in August. Actually, I promised that the summer, the late year MCM London, I will bring Steampunk Ant-Man and I'll display it there. How's that?
Fantastic. That sounds brilliant. Well, on that note, we'll leave it there. And thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Tinker, John. And thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that look and small glimpse into the world of steampunk. And keep watching for more. And thank you for watching at home.